Welcome back to another episode of Explicably Inexplicables. I'm Arnav, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Nikhil. Today, we are diving deep into the universe of offshore finance, exploring the high-stakes games, billionaire secrets, and the battle to control the global wealth maze. Welcome to the secret world of money beyond borders.
That's right. So for our viewers, offshore finance is like a parallel financial universe with its own rules and intrigue. Today, we're going to delve deeper into this enigmatic world and provide real-life examples that shed light on its complexities. So let's get started.
Okay, great. So I guess I should start off, for our audience out there, what exactly is offshore financing?
Well, kind of picture this. So you want to imagine a network of financial centers located in tax havens worldwide, where individuals and companies can essentially park their money and assets beyond their home country's borders. And so these tax havens typically offer very attractive benefits, including reduced tax liabilities, financial privacy, and of course asset protection. And so, for instance, the Cayman Islands, a famous tax haven, has become a hub for offshore accounts and funds for many multinational and supranational corporations and wealthy individuals as well.
Okay, so I guess I understand that, but what is the main driving factor? What drives people and companies to engage in offshore financing? What exactly is the motivation behind it?
Well, I think that the primary motivation is typically about tax optimization. So what I mean by this is tax optimization helps establish offshore companies or accounts in low tax or tax exempt jurisdictions. So individuals as well as corporations can legally minimize their tax burdens and retain a larger portion of their wealth instead of having to pay a large portion of that for taxes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, right? And I think it's important to remember, not forget about the added allure of financial privacy and asset protection, right? The main thing is that offshore financing, or these offshore accounts, right? They can shield assets from potential lawsuits, creditors, and even political instability in their home countries, which can be very beneficial for many, rich or big private corporations.
Definitely, I agree. And I think that, this secret world kind of has also not been without its share of controversies, right?
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people argue that offshore finance facilities facilitate money laundering and tax evasion. And so do you think you have a real life example of such of these practices?
I mean, I guess one of the main prominent ones that we know of illegal offshore financing is the Panama Papers, right? So basically, the Panama Papers, it was this massive expose which involved leaked documents from a Panamanian law firm. And this revealed how prominent figures worldwide could use offshore structures to hide their wealth, evade taxes, and engage in illicit financial activities. And so these papers sent shockwaves through the financial world and brought to light basically the darker side of offshore financing. And I guess in light of all this, have there been any efforts to regulate or control this realm? And I know even if there are been efforts, how successful and how efficient are they?
Well, I think there have been several kind of policies and laws that have been introduced by various countries and international organizations as well to help combat money laundering and tax evasion as well. So, for example, one of the things I know off the top of my head is this initiative called the Common Reporting Standard, or commonly known as CRS, and the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, or also known as FATCA. So these two things have both been implemented to increase transparency and exchange financial information between countries more effectively.
You knew that off the top of your head? Okay.
I did my research.
Despite these efforts, I guess the battle for control over the global wealth maze continues. So how do countries compete to attract offshore business, right? And what are the implications of this fierce competition? Because obviously there is a lot of demand in this specific industry, and because of the many benefits that it offers.
Well, I mean, I think this is actually like quite comparable to the economic, concept of capitalism, right? So countries with more lenient regulations and lower taxes, right, which is things that companies are looking for. It's very attractive to them. Often engage in fierce competition to attract offshore businesses, right? So I think that this competition can lead to a kind of a race between to the bottom in terms of tax rates, potentially reducing tax revenues for other countries, exacerbating wealth inequality and impacting essential public services, right?
Exacerbating is not a word. But anyways, speaking of the darker side of offshore finance, like I guess the negative side, it's essential to discuss how some individuals can exploit the system for unethical purposes. I know we talked about the Panama Papers, but one very prominent example in which I guess me and you and others and 21st century know about is Jordan Belfort in the movie of The Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Oh, I think I know it.
Yeah, and so just guide basically for our audience that don't know, Jordan Belfort, right, who's played by Leonardo DiCaprio, which is a very prominent actor, right? He was this charismatic stockbroker who built his empire through the Stratton Oakmont brokerage firm, and so his entire firm was engaged in a scheme known as the pump and dump, where they artificially inflated the prices of penny stocks and then sold them to unsuspected investors, right? And so leaving them with worthless shares. And so what's really fascinating about this story is how Jordan Belfort, who's actually like a real guy, like he's living today, right? How he used offshore accounts to hide and launder the massive amounts of money he acquired through these illegal activities. So it was a way for him to preserve this money, right? And so he siphoned off millions of dollars to offshore jurisdictions, which made it extremely difficult for law enforcement to track these illicit funds.
Wow, that's very interesting actually. And I think that kind of the key takeaway from that is that how offshore finance can be used to used and exploited for illegal activities, right? And I think this kind of highlights the need, for stricter regulations and global cooperation to combat such financial and illicit crimes.
Exactly. And I think it's crucial to understand that while offshore finance can have legitimate uses like tax optimization and asset protection,
right.
which people do use like legally and ethically, it can also be misused by individuals to evade taxes, launder money, and engage in other illicit activities, providing for a gateway for freedom, which whether it be ethical or unethical, right?
Yeah, I totally agree there. And I think as we explore the secret world of money beyond borders, it's essential to maintain a critical perspective, right, on its complexities and potential pitfalls as well. So I think it's important to kind of just learn from history, right, learn from the past, and work towards a more transparent and ethical financial system in the future globally.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good wrap on our episode today of Explicably Inexplicables. Thank you all for joining us on this enlightening journey through the Offshore Odyssey. Stay curious, stay informed, and until next time, keep exploring the inexplicables. Peace.